Hi, this is Estelle Erasmus, your host for Freelance Writing Direct. In this short, soundbite-filled podcast, I'll cover everything the freelance and creative writer and author needs to do to move forward with their writing, their creativity, and their career. Through conversations with guests, we'll cover tips, tricks, and actionable strategies. So join me every week and grow your business and build your craft with Freelance Writing Direct. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes and Spotify. Hi, everybody. It's Estelle Erasmus, and I'm so thrilled to announce that my book, Writing That Gets Noticed, Find Your Voice, Become a Better Storyteller, Get Published, is out and available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, and wherever books are sold. So I would love it if you'd pick up a copy, and I think you'll learn a lot. Thanks. Bye-bye. Hi, everybody. This is Estelle Erasmus, and welcome to Freelance Writing Direct. And I'm so excited to have Allison Merrill with us today. I want to tell you a little bit about her, and this episode is called Telling Your Stories Without Shame or Apology by author Allison Merrill. And here's a little bit about Allison. She's a loveaholic, a Taiwanese immigrant, and the author of 99 Fire Hoops, a memoir. Her work appears in the New York Times. She's an editor at Dialogue Journal and a keynote speaker, instructor, and panelist at various writers' conferences nationwide and in Asia. She also appears on TV, radio, and podcasts in magazines, newspapers, and journals. She's available for interviews, teaching, and speaking engagements nationwide. You can visit her at AllisonHongMerrill.com, and I'll put that in the show notes to sign up for her short monthly email. So welcome, Allison. So great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a great honor to be here with you.
My pleasure. And so I read your book and I found it so compelling. And I loved how you started your story about saying that you didn't realize it, but you were a starter wife. And you were really abysmally treated in your first marriage with Cameron. And so why did you decide to share your story with the world?
That's such a great question. So the reason why I decided to do it is because there's this one word, and this word is desperation. I was desperate. And before I get deeper into that word, desperation, I would like to ask you, did you know that of all the writers in the US, only 7% are immigrants and only 5% are Asian? And that makes me a unicorn because I am a Taiwanese immigrant. Like you mentioned earlier, I am an immigrant in the US. And I am not only a Taiwanese immigrant, I was also disowned by my father and abandoned by my first husband. I call him Cameron in the book. And so that is the root of my desperation, but also because I grew up and I was raised in Chinese culture. And Chinese culture conditioned women and girls to abide by 3 obediences: obey father, obey husband, and obey sons in widowhood. And that did not really work for me. I didn't like the idea, and I didn't like to live that way, having to always obey, and wait, because I was a girl in Chinese culture growing up. I was expected to always wait silently for men's permission to speak or act. Right. Wow. And so when I was 21 years old, my father disowned me. And after that, I came to the US because I got a scholarship to a university in Texas. So I came over to America and I married Cameron, who was an American young man who was fluent in Chinese. And at the time, my English was really, really bad. And so Cameron, because he was fluent in Chinese, he would interpret for me. And very soon he would take over all conversations. And then a lot of times I would just stand beside him and, I was listening, but I wasn't really listening. I could hear him. I could hear him talking to other people. And then he and the people who he was talking to, they would give me the sideways glances and they would snicker, right? And so I thought, wait a second, Cameron is talking about me. He is telling my story, obviously, but what is he talking about exactly? Why are people laughing at me? I have no idea. Even though they were talking about me, telling my story, and I was there, I didn't know what was being said. And then I went to a funeral with Cameron, the very first funeral I went to in America, and it shocked me because there was a part in the funeral where people would go and offer a eulogy, and family and friends, they would go and share their memories of the dead, right? And at the beginning, it was all really endearing and really touching, but then very soon people started sharing jokes and revealing secrets about the dead that most people did not know. And I thought, wow, what would people say at my funeral? What will people talk about me and tell my story at my funeral? Will they even tell the right story? And then that was when it struck me, this is the same thing as what Cameron was doing in my face. He would tell my story, but I had no idea what he was saying. And even if I knew, would I be happy with the things that he said about me? So at that moment, I thought, okay, I've got to find a way to tell my own story because I have a voice. I don't need people to tell my story for me because they don't know my experience. They don't know my background better. I am the person who know everything about myself the best. I should be the one telling my story, right? And so that's one of the reasons why I decided to write the story.
And it's like Hamilton, like who will tell your story in the musical
Yes.
Hamilton, they say
Exactly.
that.
Yes.
And so you went against all your conditioning and you found a voice because Baba, your father, had disowned you.
Yes.
You really only pulled yourself out by virtue of your education and your ability to get a scholarship and your love of learning. And I think that stood you in good stead because some people would come to that realization and give up, or some people would maybe now look for somebody else to take care of them. And you made the decision to take care of yourself and have your own voice. And I think that is one of the driving, I call it through lines of your book that takes the reader through your journey. And there's a lot to your journey. And faith is a big part of your journey. Can you speak to that as well?
Yes, thank you. So exactly like what you just described, my journey, started out really at the bottom of a pit of miseries and desperation, but there was always a way up. Because when you're at the very bottom of the pit, the only way to go is up. And so don't get despair because that means, hey, there's hope in the future. Just look up and go up, right? And so this is the thing. My father disowned me when I was 21 on Chinese New Year's Eve. And Cameron, my first husband, abandoned me a week before Thanksgiving, which means when the rest of the world was celebrating major holidays with their families and their loved ones, I was alone on empty streets, shivering in the cold, going up and down the street looking for forgotten coins in payphone change slots. That's what I was doing, right? And then it hit me, and I thought, why is it that I can't celebrate anything? Even if the whole world is celebrating holidays, major holidays with their families and their loved ones, why can I not have a reason to celebrate myself? I'm with myself. right? And so I decided in that moment that I would do this. I have a signed permission slip. I sign my own name and I give myself permission to celebrate myself. And every morning I wake up, I tell myself, today I'm going to give myself permission to allow this day to be awesome, to allow this day to be fantastic. And that has been decided. And so no matter what happens during the day, if I had a flat tire, okay, if I got a rejection letter from an editor, it doesn't matter because I woke up, the moment I woke up in the morning, I have already decided this is going to be an awesome day. And so nothing else is going to change that. And that's the power of choice because I choose for myself.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
I love that you do that. That's an intentional ritual that you
Yes.
created that
Yes.
really holds you in good stead and sets you. And I think you're a very upbeat person, and you've dealt with so much. And I want to get back to the book for a minute as well, because the way you start, I always tell my students, start with the inciting incident, the point where something really begins to happen, not the throat clearing, not all the setting up of the scene. And your very first sentence says, I discovered that I became a starter wife from a light switch. And really, to go a little further, it's about the electricity being turned off. But again, you get right into the inciting incident. You wanted to tell your story and you decided to write your story. How did you structure your story? Because you're taking a life and many years of your life, and it's not an autobiography. It has a central theme. So how did you decide on that and on the theme and the container within the story?
Yes. So before I started working on the first draft of my manuscript, I already have this image in my head of that night when I returned to Cameron's and my apartment, and I discovered that during my 2-hour absence, he moved everything out of the apartment and he cut off all the utilities and he took all the money in the bank and he served me divorce paper. That was what I thought would be the inciting incident, because that was a very clear image in my head. And I thought that the story needs to start from there. And then I also had a very vivid image in my head for the ending. So I have the beginning and the ending already set. I was not going to change the story structure any differently than having these two scenes be the book end, right? And then it's in the middle, I decided, because I took some classes, writing classes, and I learned that you need to have, like some people say you need to have 3 acts, and some people say 5 acts, in the storytelling structure. And this is what I do. I take all these different classes from different people, and they tell me different things. And I have to pick and choose what worked for me, right? And I think it's true for everybody else. You can hear and listen to all these different advices and suggestions and recommendations, but what really works for you, you have to really know, right? And so I decided to do this. I decided to have the inciting incident, and then I'm going to go into 3 try-fail cycles. The inciting incidents is very tragic, being abandoned in a foreign country with no family, no friends. That's already tragic. And that I thought will hook the reader. And it's like, oh my gosh, could anything get worse? Yes, it gets worse, right? And so you have the first try-fail cycle, means the narrator or the protagonist tries something because this protagonist is encountering a difficult challenge. So she tries to solve that problem, but she fails. That's the first attempt. And then things get worse, right? It gets worse. So that's the second try and fail cycle. And then it gets worse yet. The third try fail cycles is when the whole world just went, there's nothing going for you anymore. All hopes are lost. That's the third try-fail cycle. But immediately after this third try-fail cycle, the saving grace needs to come. And that's when a new character is introduced, and that is the saving grace, and that's,
Is that
that guy, the new guy.
is it Drake, or is it there's guys before also who were very helpful to you but weren't the guy?
Yeah, it's Drake. So it's Drake. So I figured out this structure for the story to have Drake, the saving grace, to come at the very last 10% of the story. So I structured the story into 99 sections. So let's round it out to 100 because it's easier. My math is not that good, But if we run it out to 100, say I have 100 chapters or sections in the book, then the new guy, the saving grace, comes at around 90, like chapter 90. So the last 10% of the story is focused on him and how he makes the story better.
And it's really at the end. I mean, it's not like he's pivotal, but he's only pivotal because you have made some internal changes and in yourself, and
yes.
You are then ready for him to come into your life, the right person. And he is your husband, and you have 2 boys and today, and it's a wonderful, uplifting ending, but your story is very compelling because it takes you through your journey, the things that happen to you and how you deal with it. And I like how you're setting it up with each time you try something, you're failing, but it's even more than that. You have great description, and the title of your book is 99 Fire Hoops. And I just connected that with your saying you had 99 effectively chapters, because
yes.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, what is the 99? Now I get it. That makes so much sense. So each chapter is a fire hoop that you're going through. Is fire hoop, is that something in your culture that is resonant in some way, in a particular cultural way?
So the number 99 in Chinese culture is a metaphor for eternity, right? And then fire hoops, I thought when I was brainstorming book titles for this project, I thought I need to find something that's not specifically Chinese, because my audience is American readers, right? And so I thought, well, what if people can't really understand or connect with the concept of a Chinese metaphor, So then I thought, well, what is a metaphor that everybody will know to describe an obstacle, right? And then I thought of a circus lion jumping through, jumping through a fire hoop. And then I thought, oh, that could be a metaphor for obstacle, right? And then if you have 99 fire hoops that you have to jump through, that's an internal, it feels like an internal, never-ending hardship in your life that you just keep getting hit and hit and hit, It feels like it never ends, but then it ends.
So I love that. And speaking of the hardship, I mean, Cameron does not come out in a pretty light. There's no way, no shape, no form. And I know you changed his name. He's not Cameron, but anybody who knew you even back then would know who your first husband was. So were there repercussions for writing about him, even with changing his name and possibly some other things?
So I thought about all these possible problems when I was drafting the first draft of the manuscript, and I thought, what if he heard about this and he tried to sue me, and it became reality. He really tried to sue me. When I was still working on it, I really worried, and I did some research, and one of my advisors in my MFA program, I went to VCFA for writing, and one of my advisors told me, well, everybody knows if you're working on a memoir, you probably should change names, right? And I said, okay, is that the only thing I can do? Is there anything else I can do to protect myself and protect Cameron and his family, protect their privacy? And he said, well, no, you just change their names. And they won't have a case if they try to sue you because you change your names. Well, later on, I learned there's a lot more I could do. And so I not only I change everyone's name in the story, every single character, except the Bushmans, right? And then I change my own name. So Allison Home Merrill is not my name. It's my pseudonym. Because I thought if I don't change my name, if my real name, my legal name appears on the cover, people can Google it. And if people Google it, they will find public records of Cameron and they will know, oh, his name is not Cameron, his name is this, and he's from here and not from that, you know. So I decided if I change my own name, then if people Google my name, they won't be able to find Cameron, right?
Wow.
And so I did that and I changed all the locations of where the story took place.
Right.
And then I changed occupations. So like change Cameron's occupation, change his parents. So in a way, people like I was on the panel and people say, so basically this is a novel. It's not true. And I'm like, the story, the integrity of the story remains intact.
Yes.
But it's all those identifying details that I changed to protect the privacy of these characters because I care about their privacy and also worry about my own, I don't want to get sued.
Right. And so he did try to sue you. I mean,
Yes.
in the book, you went to court with him, but that was for other reasons. But he did try to sue you and it was not fruitful for him then.
Exactly. It did not happen. So his attorney is his brother. And so his brother emailed me a month before 99 Fire Hoops was released to demand that what's that word? Desist and
that you retract or cease
Yes.
and desist with
Yes.
writing?
Yeah. And saying that if I continue the process of publication, they would take legal actions against me.
Wow.
And so then I contact my publisher and ask her for advice, and she sent me to an attorney, a literary attorney. And I talked with the attorney, and then we went through, a lengthy discussion, and then we decided to change 2 words in my book because the attorney said those 2 words were probably the reason why Cameron and his brother thought they could take me to court. And so we changed those 2 words, got rid of them, and then replaced those 2 words with something else. And then my attorney said, you should be safe after this change. And so then nothing happened.
And you haven't had any further interaction with him or his family since?
No.
That's good. That's good. So if somebody is writing, I mean, so many of my listeners and viewers now are writing their own stories. And as someone who's gone through it successfully, do you have some tips in writing that people can use?
Yes, I have some tips. The first one is hold the leash. And what it means is that imagine you're walking your dog, if you have a dog, or if you don't have a dog, imagine somebody you have seen on the street or in the park walking a dog. The dog is in front of the person who is holding the leash, right? And so the dog, so get into the dog's mind, and the dog is probably thinking, I'm in charge because I'm the leader. I'm in the front, right? And I get to experience and discover all things around me first because I'm in front of the human, right? But in reality, the human is holding the leash. So the human can direct the dog in which way to go. So you, the writer, is the person, the human holding the leash. And your reader, and this is probably a bad metaphor, your reader is the little puppy.
Dog.
Yes. And so you want to give your reader that experience of, oh, wow, I'm discovering all these things, all the new details, all the new information first. I get there first. But in reality, the human behind the reader The writer is holding the leash. And what it means is you don't want to spoon feed your readers all the information. You don't want to info dump. You don't want to tell your reader how to feel and what to think or what conclusions to draw. You don't want to do that. You want the reader to think that they are the dog that gets to experience everything first. And then when the reader gets to the inside, I knew it. In reality, they don't really know it, but you want them to have that feeling or that experience of, oh no, yeah, I totally see it coming, but no, not really, because you're the one, you're the one who can give it a plot twist.
So you're leading them on a journey. You're leading them in there. Like I have a Havanese, so she likes to go in the front, but I'm going to pull her back, or I'm going to guide her in what she wants to do.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just want to go back to the book again, because there's so much wonderful stuff, and also, you have won many awards for this manuscript. You're inaugural winner of the 2020 Sandra Carpenter Prize for Creative Nonfiction, grand prize winner of the 2019 Mass People of Earth Writing Contest, shortlisted finalist in the 2019 D.L. Jordan Prize for Literary Excellence. It goes on and on. Can you tell me, because a lot of people who are publishing their books would love to know about how to get involved and submit for awards, because to get the award, the book has to be submitted. So how did that happen? Did your publisher do it? Did you do it? Did you provide them with a list? Can you give a little advice on that?
Yes. So my publisher doesn't do it for me. I have to go and research and find opportunities on my own. And there are 3 websites I visit frequently to find opportunities. And the first one is Poets and Writers. Poets and Writers is a great website with resources to help you find all kinds of contests and awards that you can enter, and it's free. And the second one is Winning Writers Best Free Literary Contest Database, and it's also free. And so if you just go to winningwriters.com, and then from there you can find the contest that works for you.
I love that. Winningwriters.com. I'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah. And the third one is Book Award Pro. Book Award Pro, they have the free version and also the paid membership version. And I always use the free because, if you can do it free, why not?
Yeah.
Just so I sign up for an account with them, and they will send me, whenever they discover an opportunity that's a match for my book, then they will send me an email and said, we found this for you. Would you be interested? And if you have a paid membership with them, you can even have them submit your book for you. They will do all the work for you. So that's also a great place to find opportunities to enter your book into contests.
So that's really helpful. Thank you so much. I have 2 more questions. This has been great. We've covered so much. What is next for you? And where can people find you on social media? And I'll put that in the show notes as well.
So I am currently working on the prequel to 99 Fire Hoops, and the working title is 99 Lost Fathers, and is focused on a 100-year family saga about a Chinese family in Taiwan, and it starts with a matrilocal marriage, and then it ends with an interracial marriage. And in between is how the central government in Taiwan has been hiding a family secret from this family, so that this family, because the government is not allowing them to learn about their past, their ancestors, their lineage, so their fathers, their forefathers, their ancestors are lost to them. And in a sense, this family continues to not know who they are, their true identity, because they have no way of finding. And if you don't know your true identity, it's not the best way to live, if you don't know who you are or where you come from. So that's what I'm working on right now. And people can find me on my website, It's my name, AllisonHomeMerrill.com. And on my website, you can also find the social media links where you can follow me on social media. I'm more active on Facebook because it works for me.
That's so great. Thank you so much, Allison. It's been such a pleasure talking to you about 99 Fire Hoops and your experience writing it and everything writing and award related and how you've dealt with some of the repercussions. It's really wonderful. And I really look forward to seeing your next book. So thank you again for being on the program.
Well, thank you so much, Estelle. I really do love and admire you very much. And thank you for your hard work promoting and supporting the writing community. Thank you.
That means so much to me to hear you say that. Thank you, Allison. Follow me at EstelleSerasmus.com on my website and on social media, which is Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Estelle S. Erasmus. And we're now on YouTube for Freelance Writing Direct. Follow along, and soon everyone will be reading what you're writing.